Throughout mankind's history, people have responded to enemies in one of two ways: fear or aggression. Jesus showed a third way: service. Serving your enemy. That is the foundation of Martin Luther King's whole nonviolent movement. Not to respond in fear, not to respond in aggression, but doing the right thing in love. I'm Brian Bateman, and this is Red Letter Blueprint, Jesus' 52 Rules for Joy. In the Bible, Jesus put a lot of emphasis on following his commands, and he made certain promises about following his commands, like he would reveal himself to us and we would experience overflowing joy. Jesus said, when you obey my commandments, you remain in my love, just as I obey my Father's commandments and remain in his love. I have told you these things so that you will be filled with my joy. Yes, your joy will overflow. Well, I want to know this overflowing joy, and I want to know Jesus better, so I read through the whole Bible and looked for all the red letters, Jesus' words, thus the name of this series. And I looked for commands. I found 52 commands that Jesus gave us, one for each week of the year. 13 are related to our relationship with God. 13 are related to our relationships with people. 13 are related to our values. And 13 are related to our actions. So I want to know Jesus better. I want to know this overflowing joy. So I'm doing this deep dive, and you are invited along for the ride. This guy Desmond responded to one of my Facebook comments with a statement that's insulting, unnecessarily aggressive, and just factually wrong. I'm going to unload both barrels on him and let him have it, set him straight.
Maybe you shouldn't be so hard on Desmond. I mean, he was replying to your reply to his post. But Desmond's post was so wrong and ignorant. You haven't even seen Desmond since high school. It's not your role to correct his misperceptions. But you have to stand up for truth and justice and the American way. Take off the cape, Superman. This is not the way to show Desmond the love of Jesus. Your opinion is valid, and you have every right to express it. Opinions are like everyone's got one, and they all stink.
I thought you were the good guy.
You haven't even seen Desmond for 40 years, and you've shown no concern about him since. You don't need to fix him now. Didn't you see him at the mall like 15 years ago?
Okay, I won't set him straight.
Good. Now apologize to him for starting this online fight with him.
What?
Jesus commanded you to forgive him, love him, pray for him, and serve him. He also commanded us not to force truth on those who don't want to hear it, but that's a future episode.
Okay. Desmond, I'm
sorry if you were offended by what you should understand is the obvious truth, but you've been blinded by the trolls in your clown world.
I know, right? I'm sorry for speaking out of line. I never should have written the things I did in response to your post. You were a great guy in high school, and I'm sure you're an even better man now. I wish nothing but the best for you, your wife, and your 3 wonderful children.
Even the one who looks like a monkey.
Jesus said, "But I say, do not resist an evil person. If someone slaps you on the right cheek, offer the other cheek also. If you are sued in court and your shirt is taken from you, give your coat too. If a soldier demands that you carry his gear for a mile, carry it 2 miles." Matthew 5:39-41. During Jesus' day, the Jews hated the Romans. From their perspective, these godless barbarians had come into their land, not just their land, the Holy Land, and taken it over to rule it. And they made the Jews their servants. These filthy Gentiles made the Jews their servants, and they hated that. Roman law stated that a Roman soldier could require a Jew to carry his equipment for up to a mile. So if a Roman soldier made me carry his equipment for a mile, he's in control. But then if I carried it a second mile, who's in control then? It wouldn't make sense to serve our enemies if we weren't already serving people who aren't hostile to us. In order for God to use us effectively, we have to be leading a lifestyle of service to God and service to other people. That comes from having a heart of service. And that's what we should aspire to. The biblical word for servant is dulos. Dulos is somebody who submits to their master willingly. And that concept is actually found in the New Testament and in the Old Testament. You can find it in the book of Deuteronomy. Somebody who is, it's also translated bond servant, a servant who is willingly submitted to their master. And that's our position to God, and really to each other as well. The Dead Sea is dead because there's a lot going in, but nothing going out, and it just lies there stagnant. We don't want to be like that. We are born to serve, and the more we serve, the hungrier we are for God. We don't want to just be taking in all the time without giving out. We are born to serve. Our souls thrive in the context of service. So look for opportunities to serve. Offer to wash the dishes when it's not your turn. Offer to clean up or set up. Volunteer somewhere. If you feel like you don't have enough time to volunteer somewhere, pray and ask God what you should let go of so you can devote time to serving other people. Martin Luther King said, everybody can be great because anybody can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and your verb agree to serve. You don't have to know about Plato and Aristotle to serve. You don't have to know Einstein's theory of relativity to serve. You don't have to know the second theory of thermodynamics in physics to serve. You only need a heart full of grace, a soul generated by love. When I was 18, I went with a group of friends every Saturday morning to a nursing home and visited the seniors there. I found it surprisingly satisfying to get together with people who appreciated our company. And when my group stopped this weekly ritual, I wanted to continue. So I went to a different nursing home closer to my house. And I went in and asked if there was a senior that I could visit on a regular basis, preferably somebody who didn't get a lot of visits. And the two guys at the front desk looked at each other, and they looked at me like I had three heads. And then they said, "We got just the right person for you. His name is Bob." And they explained to me that Bob was only in his early 60s, but he was blind, and his mother raised him doing everything for him. So Bob couldn't even brush his teeth on his own. His mom did that for him. And then when she died, he was utterly helpless. So he went to siblings who passed him off to a different sibling, and he went back and forth and back and forth. Finally, the siblings got their money together and just put him in a nursing home, and he had not received a visit since. So my indignation toward Bob's siblings grew rapidly. I thought that was so unfair. And they took me to Bob's room, and Bob was hideous. He was obese, and his pasty white skin looked like it had never seen the sun. His teeth were crooked. His eyes were constantly moving, constantly darting around, but never seeing. And he just had this grimace, like he was always in pain. And he barked at me, "What do you want?" And the guy that took me to his room said, "Bob, this is Brian. He'd like to visit you on a regular basis." And he said, "What for?" And the employee just left me alone with this relative of Jabba the Hutt. And I just felt so uncomfortable. I said, "Hi, Bob, how are you doing?" He said, "What's your last name?" And I said, "My last name is Bateman." He goes, "That's not Jewish, is it?" I said, "No." And then he began to ape a terrible New York City Jewish dialect, making fun of Jewish people. And then he went on to make fun of black people and Hispanic people. And when I told him I had friends in all those people groups that he was mocking, he turned his attacks toward me. I can't remember how my faith in Jesus came up, but I mentioned that I was a Christian, and he just started lambasting me for that and making fun of Christianity and religion in general. And after about an hour of that, I thought that was about all I could take. So I left, thinking I will never see Bob again. I was indignant. I thought, who is this portly, pale, blind guy that can't even brush his own teeth to think that he's better than me and everybody else? But the more I started thinking about that question, the more I started thinking maybe he doesn't really think he's better than everybody else. Maybe he's compensating for feeling inadequate by telling himself and everybody else that he's better. So I thought maybe I should visit him a second time. My friend Terry had taught me that if you have a decision to make between two options, the right option is almost always the hardest one. So I went back the next week, and I determined to find something redeemable about Bob. And Bob just immediately started laying in on me and mocking me, and I swatted away the insults and just started asking him questions. And I discovered that Bob has a savant's memory. He listens to news radio all day, every day, and he could tell me about a plane crash 10 years ago. He could tell me the flight number, how many people died. He could tell me the date. He remembered everything. And you know what? He was an incredible storyteller. So I began to enjoy Bob's stories. I'd ask him questions, and then he would just start telling stories. So I came week after week, and I actually started looking forward to these visits because I enjoyed his stories. And he figured out that I was not the person for his racist rants, and he started looking forward to the meetings too. So we met together for about a year. And after that, my family moved out of the area. And I really missed Bob, and I expect he missed me too. I didn't grow to enjoy the time with Bob because he changed, because he became a better person. He remained the nasty old ogre he always was, but he put down the ogre persona long enough to tell me stories and enjoy my company. And I enjoyed his too. The Apostle Paul was a powerful servant. He didn't hold anything back for himself. He just poured himself out to serve other people. And so God just helped himself to Paul whenever he wanted to. And God changed the world through that man. That's no understatement. Paul said, in your relationships with one another, have the same mindset as Christ Jesus, who being in very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be used for his own advantage. Rather, he made himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness. And being found in appearance as a man, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to death, even death on a cross. Therefore, God exalted him to the highest place and gave him the name that is above every name, that at the name of Jesus, every knee should bow in heaven and on earth and under the earth, and every tongue acknowledge that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. Philippians 2, 5 through 11. So if Paul lived to serve, and Paul knew that Jesus lived to serve, shouldn't we live to serve? Let's make an effort to serve everybody, including the people who hate us. I would love to hear your response to these things, so please leave a message. And if you got anything out of this episode, please like it and share it. If you leave a review for this channel, it'll get us in front of more people. Please subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. Next week, we're going to talk about Jesus' command to forgive everyone who wrongs you. And that, episode includes an interview with Randy Goldenberg, the pastor of Frederick Community Fellowship Church. I can't wait. Thanks for joining me on this journey. I'll see you. Anyone who has my commands and obeys them loves me. My Father will love the one who loves me. I too will love him, and I must show myself to him. John chapter 14.